Now, of all the many important parts of filmmaking, writing, direction, cinematography, and so on, perhaps the single most pivotal piece that must be right is the casting. Many a great actor has salvaged otherwise forgettable movies, and likewise, a poorly cast performer can sink an otherwise promising project. Now, while it's always nice to be surprised by an unexpectedly great performance, it's fair to say that the odds on these 10 actors all being largely responsible for their movies underperforming or even tanking outright is pretty large. From being woefully miscast to getting embroiled in PR derailing personal controversies or simply turning audiences off through their sheer presence alone, these 10 actors make it profoundly likely that the following films will fail critically and/or commercially. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 actors who will definitely ruin upcoming movies. And you know what, before we start, I want to be proven wrong by these people. I really do. But unfortunately, the stars don't look like they're aligning in that way. Number 10, Gal Gadot, Snow White. So this live-action Snow White film will star West Side Story's Rachel Zegler in the role of Snow White, an inspired bout of casting if ever there was one, silly controversies aside. But the casting that people should have actually been concerned about is that Gal Gadot will be playing the evil queen. Now, while Gadot clearly fits the physical requirements of the role, there's no way to be kind about this. Has she proven in any of her prior projects that she's got the acting chops to give us a great performance as the evil queen? I mean, it's a role that's been played by the illustrious likes of Julia Roberts and Charlize Theron in the past, and giving the various dings that Gadot has received for her work in Justice League and Death on the Nile in particular, it's easy to see her performance sandbagging the entire movie. Even though the evil queen isn't the most nuanced character an actor could play, it's tough to believe that Gadot will give us a worthwhile version considering her propensity for giving distractingly wooden performances. Number 9, Vin Diesel, Fast X. The upcoming 10th Fast and Furious movie faced a major production hurdle just a week into shooting, when it was reported that director Justin Lin, who previously helmed 5 entries into the franchise, suddenly quit the film. It was soon enough reported that Lin's exit was primarily a result of star producer Vin Diesel, whose extreme micromanagement of the production took its toll on Lin, resulting in him walking for the sake of his mental health. Given Lin's vital role in making the franchise a blockbuster success, it certainly paints a worrying picture of what fans should expect from this new movie, which touts an apparent $340 million budget, in large part due to Diesel's own high fees as both the star and producer. With an anonymous insider describing a Fast movie's production process as being a mosaic that never stops moving, largely due to Diesel's tendency to flex his authority during the screenwriting process, it's easy to appreciate that the actor may be getting in the way of his own movie. After all, F9 was considered a major disappointment by many fans despite performing decently during the pandemic-hobbled box office, and so it's easy to buy into the narrative that Diesel's egocentrism may be setting up Fast X to fail. Number 8, Chris Pratt, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Garfield. The internet just wouldn't stop complaining when Chris Pratt was cast to voice Mario in the otherwise fantastic-looking Super Mario Bros. Movie. While Mario's long-serving voice actor Charles Martinet wouldn't have suited this version of the film, many felt that Pratt was simply too uninteresting and a generic choice to play Mario. The discourse around Pratt's involvement only heated up when the film's first trailer came out, at which point many insisted that Pratt was giving a lazy performance as Mario that was basically just, well, Mario talking like Chris Pratt. Pratt is a very safe pedestrian choice for Mario, there is no question about that, and over the course of a 90-minute movie there may be simply too much of a detachment between the Mario voice that we know and love and a guy who just sounds exactly like Star-Lord. But it doesn't end there. Not content to stoke the ire of one fanbase, Pratt will also voice Garfield in a new animated film due to release next year. Again, it's just an extremely uninspired choice to voice an extremely iconic and beloved character, and releasing barely a year after Mario, well, it runs the risk of making audiences feel way too overexposed to Pratt if they don't already. Number 7, CAREY Mulligan, Maestro. Now, on paper, Bradley Cooper's Maestro, a biopic of legendary conductor-composer Leonard Bernstein, seems like a surefire Oscar contender for next year, but beyond the not insignificant controversy of Cooper's decision to wear a prosthetic nose to more closely resemble the Jewish Bernstein, there is one piece of casting which could sink the film's chances altogether. Now, CAREY Mulligan is a fantastic actress, no doubt about that, but casting her in the role of Leonard's eventual wife, a Chilean Jewish woman by the name of Felicia, has unsurprisingly rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. You see, Mulligan's casting has even been dubbed an act of ethnic cosplay, and deemed only further indicative of Hollywood's frustrating aversion to casting Latina actors in Latina roles instead of Caucasian performers. Though Mulligan's defenders have pointed out that Felicia's father was a white American, the whole debacle nevertheless casts an unfortunate shadow shadow over a film that's evidently going to be gunning for Oscars. There's about a 99.7% certainty that this controversy will rear its head again once the film is released on Netflix, and expect it to be a major talking point on the awards circuit, enough so that it could potentially overshadow the movie's probable accomplishments otherwise. Number 6. GERI Halliwell, Gran Turismo. Now, GERI Halliwell is of course best known as the Spice Girls' Ginger Spice, and though she's very occasionally acted in films before, such as most bizarrely Crank 2 High Voltage, you could scarcely call her an actress. Halliwell will next appear in another wildly unexpected project, Neil Blomkamp's upcoming adaptation of the Gran Turismo video games, where she'll play the mother of the teenage racing prodigy. Now, nothing against Halliwell, but it's tough to imagine her presence in the film not being completely distracting. Plus, given that she's married to Christian Horner, current team principal of the Red Bull Formula 1 team, one suspects that she was likely cast in the film as a favour, rather than because she was the best fit for the job. While nobody's expecting Oscar-worthy acting from a Gran Turismo movie of all things, the sheer inexplicable presence of Ginger Spice in a supporting role may simply be too bizarre for its own good. We can only pray that her part is a small one. Number 5. Ezra Miller, The Flash. Most insider reports actually seem to suggest that the Flash movie is going to be pretty damn good, and newly minted DC Studios boss James Gunn even recently called the film probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. But The Flash is unavoidably tethered to Ezra Miller, and the various troubling controversies and legal issues that they've become embroiled in over the past year in particular. Though Miller is currently seeking treatment for a variety of apparent mental health issues, many industry observers and fans have questioned what impact Miller's actions could have on the film's reception, especially commercially. While there are certainly many millions who don't either know or don't care about Miller's past, there are also those who have decided to boycott The Flash, especially with Warner Brothers refusing to recast Miller for future films. As of the recent announcements of the DC Universe's futures moving forward, there were suggestions that Miller may well return for future films if their recovery continues, a decision that's already been met with its fair share of controversy. On the other hand, audiences knowing that so much of the DC Extended Universe is effectively being jettisoned once the remaining films are burned off, and Miller could very well get the chop if their problematic behavior continues, may also torpedo interest in the Flash film as its release date approaches. Number 4. Kevin Spacey, Control. The upcoming action thriller Control actually sounds like it could be a lot of silly fun on paper. The British Home Secretary has her self-driving car remotely hijacked by a mysterious man who sends her on a terrifying drive through the streets of London. That is a rock-solid B-movie plot right there, but immediately spoiling the fun is the recent announcement that the voice of the hijacker will be provided by none other than Kevin Spacey. Spacey has of course been totally radioactive in Hollywood ever since sexual misconduct allegations were leveled against him in 2017, and has struggled to secure even minor work as various other allegations continue to be litigated. While on one hand Spacey's undeniable talent may give a low-budget indie film greater visibility than it would have otherwise had, it's at the expense of a major PR backlash, with many surely having no interest in the movie per Spacey's involvement. The writer-director of the project largely downplayed any concerns about working with Spacey, noting that the film presented an opportunity to work with one of the acting greats, a quote that's probably not going to endear anyone to the project. Spacey could give the vocal performance of his life in this film, but his mere involvement will poison the well regardless. Number 3. CYNTHIA ERIVO and ARIANA Grande, Wicked Part 1. A big screen adaptation of the hit musical Wicked is currently shooting right now, though it's fair to say that reactions to the central casting announcements were, well, wildly mixed to say the least. CYNTHIA ERIVO and ARIANA Grande have been cast in the role of the main witches, and while there's absolutely no doubt that the pair have the vocal chops to do musical justice to the songs, that doesn't mean that they're right for the roles. Many were surprised to see the 36-year-old ERIVO cast in a role that's meant to revolve around the pair of witches living as roommates in college, and given that Wicked is being split into 2 movies, we can reasonably assume that this section of the film will be lengthened considerably in Part 1. The potential for unintentional hilarity, just as with 27-year-old Ben Platt playing a high schooler in Dear Evan Hansen, speaks for itself. It's a problem exacerbated by Grande's youthful appearance, and so the clear gulf of age between the two actors could make it impossible to take them seriously as being college roommates. And while Grande looks age-appropriate enough to play Glinda, even with her musical talent, her casting can't help but feel a little cynical, in the hope that roping in a pop megastar will boost the film's box office. Ultimately, ERIVO and Grande are odd choices separately, but together they're a totally mismatched pair, and it isn't easy to picture this combination working out. Number 2. Liam Neeson, Marlowe. On paper, the idea of a movie centered around an older, more grizzled version of legendary private detective Philip Marlowe, most famously played by Humphrey Bogart in The Big Sleep, has a ton of potential. But as great an actor as Liam Neeson might be, when he wants to be at least, the trailer for his new film Marlowe doesn't exactly sell him as a particularly inspired choice to play the detective. And even if the rather uneven, cheap-looking trailer doesn't fully dissuade you, Variety's review from the San Sebastian International Film Festival last year declared Neeson wildly miscast, while noting that his performance couldn't hold a candle to Bogart's iconic rendition. Raymond Chandler's characters are notoriously tricky to realize on screen, and it's not all that surprising that Neeson's more severe, restrained screen demeanor is a bit of an awkward fit for Chandler's hard-boiled, quick-witted creations. Though it sounds like Marlowe isn't a particularly good movie from the ground up, clearly with a more inspired central casting choice, it'd be a far more interesting piece of work. And number 1, Zachary Levi, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Warner Brothers really just has no luck at all with their DC actors, eh? Now, Zachary Levi certainly seems to be an affable, friendly guy and was the perfect choice to play Shazam in the DCEU's iteration of the character. But Levi caught enormous social media flack recently when he agreed with a tweet which declared pharmaceutical company Pfizer to be a real danger to the world. Levi's comment was immediately interpreted as having an anti-vax undertone, and without the actor providing any clarifying context, it was difficult to view it any other way. With Shazam! Fury of the Gods set to release in March, Warner Brothers is no doubt more than a little anxious about Levi and whether his remarks could cause problems on the film's upcoming press tour, which could in turn negatively affect the sequel's box office performance. The fact that Levi hasn't addressed the comments since is certainly worrying, and may result in yet another DC movie getting marred in controversy, which only detracts from the movie itself. More to the point, it likely won't endear Levi to new DC heads Gunn and Safran, who will ultimately decide whether or not Levi returns for any future Shazam movies. Gunn recently addressed Levi's remarks, stating that he can't constantly change his filmmaking plans due to an actor's views, but given that Shazam 3 wasn't part of Gunn's new slate of DC movies, one can't imagine that it's an active consideration anyway. And there we go, my friends, those were 10 actors who will definitely ruin upcoming movies. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Instagram at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, and I hope to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself well, my friend, with love and respect, because you deserve all the best things in life, alright? Like love, happiness, and success, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and utterly smash it today. I believe in ya. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.